Hi, everyone. My name is Urooj Riaz. I'm a dietitian. I'm part of the breast center, and many of you may have known me or will get to know me. I have been part of the Providence St. John's Health Center for a few years now. So I'll just get into our topic for today, which is microbiome, breast cancer, and probiotics. If some of you attended my last session or the health and wellness session a couple of months ago, we talked about dietary supplements. Probiotics are often used as a supplement too, but I felt like they just deserve their own day, own session to be talked about. So this is what we're doing today. So objectives for today's presentation will be to talk about or define what is microbiome and the role it plays in our health, and define what is probiotic, identify some of the food sources of probiotics. We'll discuss the benefits of the probiotics and the role probiotics play with breast cancer and some other diseases as well. So before we get to that, let's just discuss what is microbiome. Microbiome is a collective genome of microorganisms, which is like bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungus that are just part of our body, and that they're coexisting together. The majority or the largest microbiota is found in our intestines. They play a key role in daily operations. Microbiome consists of microbes that could be both helpful and harmful. So they're sort of like keeping a check and balance between them. And then many of them are just, they're symbiotics where the body and the microbiota benefit from one another. And a number of things can disturb or change or influence your gut microbiota. It could be related to your health. It could be related to your diet, the stress, the infection. Genetics do play a role too, what type of microbiome we have, our hygiene, our environment, where we are located. If you are on any type of treatment or something, antibiotics, for example, all of that can play a factor into our gut microbiota. Where do beneficial microbes live? So like I mentioned earlier, majority of them are in our gut, but we have it in our mouth, vagina, urinary tract, all over our skin. There is microbes. Some are also in our lungs too. Then there are some other part of the body where the bacteria or microbes shouldn't be, for example, like your heart and your health. But majority of them, the beneficial ones, are going to be found here. That being said, what are microbiotas, or what are the families of them? So again, the large families of bacteria are found in the gut that include some of these. Cannot say the name of all of them, but I'll mention bacteriotes, firmicutes, and then in the colon, which is a low oxygen environment, you will find anaerobic bacteria. So Streptococcus, Bifidobacterium, Lactobacillus, and Clostridium. So these microbes are believed to prevent the overgrowth of bacteria by competing for nutrients and attachment sites to the mucous membranes of the gut, and a major site of the immune activity and the production of antimicrobial proteins. The one thing I do want to mention, these two, Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus, these are considered the probiotics. We have Clostridium in our gut, but if it goes out of control, so this is not necessarily a healthy bacteria, and if it grows in number, it could cause diarrhea or other infections too. Same thing with the Streptococcus too. So the main one when we talk about probiotic, we're looking for these, and they have different strains within them. Basically, they're the families of probiotics. So what are probiotics? Probiotics are a combination of live beneficial bacteria or yeast that naturally live in our body. There are naturally occurring food that contain the microbiota, for example, yogurt, right? There are the non-digestible carbohydrates that are naturally present in many high fiber foods as well. It can be also found in a supplement form. It's huge. It's a multi-million-dollar industry. It's almost reaching $1 billion too. And then the probiotic adds to your gut microbiota. So up to 100 trillion bacteria can be found in our gut. What So what are some of the benefits of the probiotics, right? It helps foster our immune system. The theory is that you want to introduce the helpful the bacteria into the intestinal tract to improve the body's immune defense. The probiotics can also reduce the damaging inflammation in the body. So a lot of time, like think of cancer as also like an inflammation in your body. So hopefully probiotics can help with that too. Probiotics also prevent intestinal environment to overrun by unhealthy bacteria. Again, checks and balance. And then a lot of people do take probiotics to help and prevent lactose intolerance. A lot of people can drink milk, and if they are lactose intolerant, they will develop some type of like a diarrhea or something. But if they eat yogurt, which is typically okay, they are okay with consuming like fermented items, fermented dairy, for example. Diarrhea can be treated and prevented with probiotics, inflammatory bowel diseases or IBS, and or other gastrointestinal diseases. So again, what are the common probiotics? It would be the lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, which is the bacterium, it's a probiotic, or probiotics are also yeast. So this one right here, cannot say the name. It's also considered a probiotic. What are some of the food sources of probiotics? So yogurt, which is made with bacteria. We have buttermilk, which has live cultures added to it. Sourdough bread, to rise it, you have to add some type of a yeast or some bacteria to make it rise. There's cottage cheese, which has cultures added to the milk. Kombucha, which is a drink, it's a fermented drink. Kefir, I think of it as a yogurt smoothie, which has live and active cultures added to it. Tempeh is a fermented soybean. Fermentation basically means that there is a bacteria and you need sugar to turn it into like a fermentation. So we have fermented pickles, we have fermented sauerkraut, there's kimchi, which is a fermented cabbage, and then there's miso soup coming from the soybean. So one thing I do want to mention here is that not all varieties of these foods have probiotics, right? So it depends on how they are processed. So heating and cooking can kill these naturally occurring probiotics from the food. And then when you kill the microorganisms, you're removing the beneficial properties from them as well. So you might notice that many of these are like, for example, yogurt, buttermilk, cottage cheese, kefir, even kombucha sometimes, they are like chilled. And if you keep them in a room temperature for too long, then you're killing the bacteria and you're not getting the benefits from them, and you shouldn't be consuming them. And then the other ones, their environment is like fermented or pickle or something. So they need their environment just to like stay alive. There is such a thing as consuming too much probiotics too. Some people might be a little sensitive to probiotics too, that they may develop gas or bloating. Otherwise, other people, if they take in higher amounts, can develop gas and bloating. And then I do want to use a precaution for somebody who has a weakened immune system, for example, cancer, or if you are getting treatment of them, those people are at more risk of developing infections by bacteria. So they may not want to get like probiotic supplements, but as long as you're getting it from the food sources in moderate amounts, that should be okay. Many of you may have heard of, so there's probiotic, then there's prebiotics that we may have heard of, and then there is another category of symbiotics. So going back to probiotic, it's a microorganism in the gut, right? Prebiotic is a substance in the fiber, so fruits and vegetables, that feed the probiotic. And then the symbiotic, it's a combination of both, and it's usually found in a supplement form. So pre and probiotic is equal to symbiotic. So prebiotic, what is that? It's a food for the gut bacteria, right? So think of it this way. In order, you have to take care of your good bacteria. So you want to feed the microorganism with prebiotics so that the probiotic can grow and thrive inside our digestive tract. And some of the food sources of prebiotics are garlic, artichoke, onions, asparagus, bananas, plantains. So for the most of, if you make your food with garlic and onion, for the most part, you're getting the prebiotic on the daily. And as a general rule of thumb is that as long as you consume fruits, vegetable, beans, and whole grains, those are all also good sources of prebiotic to help grow your probiotic. Prebiotic is not active, it's not a bacteria or anything, whereas probiotic is a bacteria. Symbiotic, like I mentioned earlier, it's a combination of both, and it's usually found in a supplement form. Food sources, and some people may get probiotic from the supplement form. So it could be food, it could be drink, it could be capsular pills, powder, liquids. I wanted to put this picture here, not that I'm endorsing one product over the other. There are a lot of products out there, and I'm just educating you all to see which one may be beneficial, which one you may need, or whether you need supplements or not. So one thing I do want to bring out, why I put the pictures in here, is I want to highlight this: 100 billion CFU, 40 billion CFU. This one has 1 billion, 25 billion, 24 billion CFU. So what does that mean, and what is the meaning of the CFU? Somebody may ask, right? So CFU stands for colony forming units. It's a number of alive and active microorganisms in one serving of probiotic. In order for the probiotic to be effective, it has to be alive, right? From your mouth and going all the way into your colon. It has to be alive. And somehow like the coating and stuff can help with that too. The average count of a probiotic could be anywhere from 1 to 10 billion CFUs. And I have seen some like yogurt that would have about 10 billion CFUs. Some product like earlier I showed, like this one has about 100 billion CFUs. Higher number of CFU does not mean it's going to give you a better result, okay? It's just could be causing you more money, to be honest with you. And then the number of bacteria isn't all that matters when choosing a high quality probiotic, okay? What we want to look for on the probiotic is that what strain of bacteria do they have, or do they have different strains of bacteria? Do they have the combination of both the lactobacillus and the bifido types of probiotics? That's how you determine a quality of a probiotic. Our gut contains different species, so we do wanna introduce different species of probiotics too. And the gut contains about 400 to 600 different species of bacteria. So again, the goal is to add beneficial bacteria back into the gut so that these bacteria can improve the overall environment of the gut. So some may ask, like, how much probiotic you need from the food or the supplement source? And should we even buy supplements? One thing I do want to mention, so when it comes to like other nutrients like calcium and like minerals and vitamins and such, where we do have a recommended daily allowances, probiotics do not have that. And the other thing is that the FDA is not regulating. So in the supplement form, the FDA is not regulating it like they regulate the medications and such. So a brand or a company can say a lot of things on their products, but we may not know if it's actually true or not. Okay, so the bottom line is you want to get the probiotic benefits from the fermented food, which is the natural source. And if you're eating the variety of the foods that I mentioned earlier, you're getting a lot of the probiotics. And then probiotic supplements, we want to reserve them for specific type of diseases or ailments. For example, somebody is having a diarrhea, they may benefit from the probiotic. So again, the question remains, how many probiotic foods do you need? And the one thing I do want to mention is that the general guideline is to just add as many fermented foods you want to in your diet as much as possible. Okay. But if you are getting it from the probiotic supplement form, make sure that the bacteria, the probiotic on the labeling, it says it's alive and it's viable. So a lot of times the transportation, the temperature, the processing of it can change your the probiotic. It may kill the probiotic. And then the company must provide some type of scientific evidence on there. For example, they have to mention what type of strain or culture that they have in there, so that you as a consumer can look at that, bring that, look into more specifically the strain of the bacteria or the probiotic and see what it's actually helping on. That way you know that they actually have it in there, because some other product can just say they have 10 billion CFU and may not provide which type of strain of bacteria that they have. So look for those two items if you're buying the supplements. And then again, should you take supplements? So for a healthy individual who have, and if you are making a balanced diet, you don't need supplement form. But somebody who is getting treated with some type of antibiotic because they have an infection, antibiotics kill the bad bacteria, but they can also kill the good bacteria. For that purposes, yes. And if you start having like some type of, if you develop diarrhea or something while being on antibiotic, then it might be beneficial that you take a supplement form. Otherwise, just increase your portions or your servings of the probiotic foods. And then diarrhea, if it's caused by some type of a bacteria, for example, Clostridium difficile or C. diff for short, then it might be beneficial to take a supplement form of probiotic. Okay, so coming back to breast cancer and probiotic. What we have seen is that, again, in the labs and in animal studies that suggest that probiotic may slow the growth of breast cancer cells. However, in humans, probiotic is still like sort of like an emergent topic. People are doing more research into it. However, at this point, we haven't found research that can say probiotics will prevent or treat the breast cancer. That being said, however, if somebody is getting cancer treatment like chemotherapy and then they develop some type of diarrhea or something, under those circumstances, probiotic can help and treat diarrhea. Caveat to that is that people who are getting chemotherapies, their immune system is also weakened. So you want to use precaution. Again, I would say perhaps don't take it in like high amounts with the 40,000 CFUs, 40 billion CFUs and such. Maybe just increase your food sources of the probiotics to help treat the diarrhea related to chemotherapies. That's the bottom line. And at this time, that's all I had to present on, and I'll be happy to take the questions.
And I would say just unmute yourself before you ask the question. Thank you, Urooj. That was excellent.
Thank you.
I learned something.
Yeah, that was the goal.
Yeah. Sorry, I sit in a room adjacent. Any questions from anyone here?
And if you don't want to ask questions, I did provide my email address too. So just send me some questions and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
I have a question for you, Urooj. You know, when people are nauseated or having diarrhea, it's very difficult to eat some of the foods that you have on the list. Like fermented foods would not be appealing, and even the dairy products that you mentioned. How would one get probiotics if they were nauseated and having diarrhea, or just didn't feel like they could eat any of those foods?
Good question. So for those people who are unable to eat food, a lot of those, the idea is that you don't want to eat a lot of them. Whenever you feel the best, if you're having a nausea and your food just seems it doesn't feel appealing to you, obviously in those circumstances, you're not eating something. But there are some forms of like, in a liquid form too. For example, there is one product that I can think of. It's like a yogurt drink. It's not like kefir or anything. It's a yogurt drink that also have like some live cultures in them. And they make it with like different flavors too. So if there's a flavor or a food that feels appetizing to you, maybe add that in or have it with that. Like, for example, kefir comes with like different flavors, strawberry or blueberry or something. And if there is certain type of like, you want to mix it up with something else. A lot of times people can like do some type of make different dishes if they wanted to. Again, things that feels appealing to them. They can add it to their chicken. There's this common thing. I want to bring my culture into this too. So a lot of times we eat yogurt, which is called, we make it into a raita. So we have yogurt, we add a little bit of water to make it into like a runny consistency. And we use that as like a sort of like a dressing per se, to add more flavor maybe to our food, whatever we eat, whether it's chicken, whether it's like rice dish or something. So whatever feels appealing to you, you are able to consume, you can add it that way too. And add a little bit of like a spice or salt or pepper to it if you wanted.
Can you heat the yogurt and still retain the? No, you can't. Cool. It has to stay cool.
Yes.
And for people who are doing a prep for a colonoscopy, or an upper endoscopy where they're really on this clear liquid diet, what do you recommend?
I would not recommend that. It just may cause more diarrhea. If they haven't have any like carbohydrates in there to help make it into like a stool form, so they might just develop. They're already like cleaning out their system and having loose bowels. I would not recommend that.
So really just wait because you'll get back on track right away.
Yes.
Okay. I love kimchi and sauerkraut and pickles, but I wouldn't make a full diet of that.
No, no. It's more, think of more of these as they're like side dishes and it just enhance the flavor of certain things.
And if someone's lactose intolerant, what does that mean in relationship to probiotics?
Lactose is a sugar found in milk. So this is what people are lactose intolerant to that. Typically, so we add bacteria to the milk to turn it into a yogurt. It changes the configuration of the yogurt a little bit. Okay, so the sugars aren't as, they're not going to hurt as much. So you need the sugar from the milk to turn that into sort of like a fermentation. The sugar has been utilized by the bacteria for the most part. And that's why a lot of people are able to tolerate yogurt better than milk or other cheese or ice cream, for example.
Any other questions from anyone on the call? If you haven't met with Urooj yet as part of our nutrition program, please let me know. And I thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And thank you for this great presentation, Urooj.
Of course.
Thank you. Okay. I have a question. Do cheeses have prebiotics or probiotics in them? Just cheeses like brie cheese or blue cheese or something like that?
No, so those cheeses are mainly made with like molds or something. The only cheese that has probiotic would be the cottage cheese.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you have to look for something that has, typically some brands will say that it's made with live culture on there, but in the processing of it, they're adding some type of a live culture to turn it into and then curding it. But cottage cheese is the only one.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you again, everyone who participated. Appreciate it. Thank you, Urooj.
Of course. Take care, everyone.